Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today, I want to talk about these books. I read all of the books on my Kindle, so I'm trying to make sure I have everything lined up when I talk about it in just a moment. But yeah, thank you for coming to my live. If you're catching this on a replay, I appreciate that as well. Thank you. All right. Okay. So things look a little different. I'm in the process of filming videos, crafting, doing some other stuff. I got my paint handy off to the side. I'm making some other stuff. I got a couple things going. I'm admiring some of my little homemade work that I've already done. my sigil, and just these are like my affirmations that I keep on my desk at all times. Canvas from the Dollar Tree, by the way. And then this little baby over here is part of a bigger announcement to come. But yeah, I'm doing a lot. And then I got medication on display because, why wouldn't I? So all sorts of stuff, plus just my regular living area in the background. But hello, happy Saturday. I'm going to jump in because I'm talking about two books. So I read these books on my Kindle Fire. Again, for me, it's just easier that way to read them like that. Good morning. I'm glad you made it too. Hey, The Princess Diaries. This particular book, Witchcraft Therapy, I had been dying to get my hands on this because I wanted to know what it was about. If it's Your Guide to Banishing Bullshit and Invoking Your Inner Power by Mandy M. The title alone, come on, the title, let me not get the glare. The title alone is pretty awesome, if you can see. I like the book design. I like how she speaks so frankly in the book. I like all that sort of stuff. So this was actually a fun read. I enjoyed reading it. I needed to read this because unfortunately one of my I have a coven, a virtual coven, and one of my sisters has passed on. And she fought to get through cancer, and unfortunately she couldn't make it. So it's been sad. I understand the circle of life. It is a pretty pretty cover. I understand the circle of life. I understand all of that. Like I'm there. I used to have struggles with death and understanding it as it relates for me and the people I love and the people around me. I used to be afraid of it many years ago, but I'm no longer, because quite frankly, there have been too many experiences I've had with witchcraft where it makes no sense for me to be afraid anymore. They've contacted me. Yeah. So these are just one, honoring the person, whoever that person is to you that passes on, but understanding they're moving on to the ancestral realm, understanding that whatever issues they had, suffering and all that sort of stuff, and this person they fought, they suffered, they're not having, I'm going to say hopefully, they're not going through that, because that's part of the body's experience. So part of healing is just maybe releasing the body, being absent from the body. Yeah, thank you. I know. Yes, exactly. Condolences to her family for sure. So this is I read this one last, so I'm gonna start with this one. So I started reading this book, Witchcraft Therapy, and I'm gonna just tell you right now, it was great to read. It was a good read. There are practical, relevant spells at the end of each section or chapter, I should say, that she talks about. This was a very helpful book. I would tell you to get this book. I would seriously tell you to get this book. This one is a good one. She goes over magical basics in the beginning. I kind of just skimmed through that, to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't read a lot of that because I know the magical basics. I'm good. Essential techniques, energy work, explaining about how to do that, develop it, explaining what grounding is, manifestation, intention setting, I'm familiar with that. Journaling, creating magical spaces. These are just like the bases. Understanding what rituals are. She talks about safety. And then she goes into the first chapter, which is vibe check your mindset, which is going to be important. So just like the first thing that she goes into is get your grounding game on point, energetically aligning with the earth. Like, the glare. Let me see if I can change the color. Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. But anyway, this is for like when I'm reading, not for like showing you guys this. But anyway, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this right. I literally forgot how to change the color on here. It's been so long. I read it. I keep it the way. Hello all. Hello. Hello to you too. Josie. Yeah, I'm just trying to quickly change this color so this makes sense for you guys. I'm attempting to anyway. There we go. Change the background. I would like another Kindle because I think this one's moving too slow. And that was oh wait, there we go. You see, this is like the first section. Get your grounding game on point, energetically aligning with the earth. So what I like about, like I said, each one, she gives some sort of exercise spell or something like that. So a grounding and centering exercise with an urban witch adaptation. That is key because everybody, and she says it, everybody doesn't have a yard to sit in. Everybody doesn't have access to outside places, including public parks for whatever reason. It could just be the weather. But she gives a way for you to kind of just be in a space. And if you could just have something that it represents nature around you, whether it be a rock. In my case, I'm thinking if I didn't even have a rock, I would use a crystal. But she's also talking about like if you have potted plants, if you have plants around you, if maybe you can have one in your hand while doing this exercise. And basically it's a combination of breathing exercises, holding on the rock, just using your mind, relaxing, grounding, if you're familiar with the concept of grounding. Seems simple. It seems like a simple exercise, but when you need that, when you need to ground sometimes because you have just so much energy, so many emotions, and there's the moon phases and everything else is happening all at the same time. So it's like there's chaos around you, there's chaos inside of you. It's not just one thing. Sometimes a simple grounding technique is really helpful. So that was like the first chapter, the first lesson, and I think that's important. Then she breaks, it gets even deeper after that. Like she really, really gets very specific. That's what I like too. Rid yourself of stank ass energy, cleansing magic. This is actually the name of the chapter. Oh, thank you, Josie. Yeah. It's that, it literally is a circle of life. Death is part of life. And I understand that intellectually, rationally speaking, but it hurts when it's someone you know. And here's the thing. The coven that I'm in, it's newer. It's months old. It's not like forever. But when you are connecting with people spiritually and you're intertwining your energy, and you're making sort of pacts and agreements contractually, whether it's verbal or not, a connection is formed. So we all are very hurt by, when you think of a group of witches, for whatever reason, call it a coven or just call it a group of witches that do magic together, you're not thinking someone's going to die. That's not part of the plan. Of course that can happen, but I'm not ready to think like that. But I guess where I'm at this point in my life, first of all, death can come to anyone, young or old, and in between. But I do need to, it's a reminder I'm at that point in my life where my peers were getting older, were, diseases and things of that nature. And honestly, it can take us out. It can take our bodies out. But again, if you're here, most likely you're of the mindset that nothing ever truly dies. No one or nothing. Energy doesn't die. So that's why I believe she's just going to the ancestral realm. And at this point, I just, my heart goes out to her family who is still on this plane. And, they will have to deal with life without her. And my coven, myself and her coven, we have to deal with this life without her. Yeah. It's it's been tough. I'm gonna just say this. Like I said, this book has been helpful, very helpful with dealing with that. To be honest with you, there's other stuff in here. There's nothing specifically that's talking about death. Let me just be clear in this book, but there are certain things in here that help you. Like this one, unleash your unique possibilities. You are not stuck. And the exercise or spell that she has a spell at the end for this one. So she writes some verbiage about, what that means to be stuck and all that sort of stuff. Then she moves on. A spell to break free from feeling stuck. Now, here's the thing. Dealing with grief, dealing with loss, sometimes you might get stuck. So this appealed to me, seeing things like this. So to complete this spell for getting unstuck, you'll need a white candle, match or lighter to obviously light it with, a large bay leaf, a pen, and a large fireproof bowl, because we're going to set that bay leaf on fire if you haven't figured this out. But she talks about grounding yourself, cleansing your space, light the candle. Thank you, Princess Diaries. I appreciate it. And on the bay leaf, she wants you to write down the positive counterpart of one of the rules that's making you feel stuck. For example, if the rule is, quote, I can't move because I'm unable to find a place I can afford, write down, I will get a new place to live that I am able to afford. She has you light the bay leaf with the candle, drop it into the fireproof bowl, meditate on the candle flame while reaffirming to yourself that you're not stuck. Doors open for you easily, and you have power to change your unique circumstances. So to me, she's giving you the outline, the basis. I would add more to this. I would verbalize a little bit more. I would say maybe those words in a chant until it was resonating with me. But overall, that's what you can look forward to in this book. She's even got something here. Stop shit talking yourself words or spells, which we know, saying negative things about yourself. Like, oh my God, why am I so stupid? I didn't see that, saying things like that. You have to be very careful. Again, as witches, we know this, but in practical sense, sometimes it's hard to remember this. And then at the end of that section, there's a spell for honey tongue, something about a honey tongue. Basically, you're going to have like some herbal tea with some raw honey and, from there and, basically say some words and things like that. Chapter 2 is about conjure confidence. I won't go through all the chapters because I have 2 other books to review, but I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of flavor for what you might anticipate with this book. I would recommend this. I think this is something that you would want to have on your witchy bookshelf. Mine is in my Kindle, but it's still a bookshelf. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth having. Chapter 3 is Summon Calm. It is definitely worth having this. Like, seriously, I think that, we have a lot of unique challenges being a witch in modern times. We have access, obviously, to social media, which opens us up to the rest of the world. I'm not going to talk about the negative side of social media, but think about it. I have access to people who are in other countries, somebody who could be next door, somebody who could be in the next town over, and so forth. It's broadcast, if someone wants to see it, it's available. And with that, they can communicate with me back via the comments and so forth. So there's an exchange of energy that's going on. And on the surface, that's beautiful and I love it. But on the other side, there's an exchange of energy that's going on. And you have to be careful and you have to, sort of guide yourself. And sometimes in the interest of just wanting to connect, because genuinely I enjoy connecting with people, you can leave me, I can leave myself open and really, kind of put myself in a situation where maybe I need to, instead of feeling like I just need to take a break, I can maybe refer to this and kind of recenter, realign, and ground myself and, kind of get back on track to who I am and, my regular energy field. You guys, y'all know what I'm talking about. The other there's 6 chapters. It's not very long. It's a 200-something page book. Make mental health something, cast relational sorcery, enchant your life. The enchant your life section, I like that. That's the last chapter. That was chapter 6. And she talks about like creating a bucket list, which I think is actually a good idea. Curate your life That is something I was intentional about some years ago. And then she talks about a magically infused process for curating your life, and she gives you the steps to do that. That's one of those exercises. Productivity, like she goes into, to me, the practicalities of living. It's not light, fluffy, airy. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes you just want, could you tell me what it is I'm supposed to do, or suggest to me what it is I'm supposed to do to get out of this feeling or to move past this part or whatever. So attract prosperity is in that section, and she goes into a whole thing about that, including a money drawing spell jar, which I think is pretty cool. There is nothing in here that I don't think anyone would struggle with getting access to. A jar, black salt. There are many YouTube videos on how to make black salt if you don't already have any. Brown or white rice, 3 penny citrine crystal, very popular. Dried basil leaves, 6 whole cloves. Again, you can get this from the store, grocery store. A pinch of ground cinnamon, a marker to write with, bay leaf, a green candle, a match or lighter. These are not incredibly difficult items to find. And this is what you can look forward to if you get her book. The items in the book are not hard to locate. So there's that. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I like the book a lot. Like I wasn't sure, because some things are a little too fluffy. Let's just be honest. A lot of the stuff, honestly, a good amount of the books that are on the market right now, like when I look and I read just some of the information, I wouldn't even say it's witchy 101. It's just too light, airy, and fluffy. It's not giving me enough substance. So therefore, one, I'm probably not going to finish it, and I'll probably never refer to it again. Witchcraft Therapy actually provided substance, practical substance. She's not trying to be your therapist, your psychologist, psychiatrist, the author. I don't get that at all. I think she's just addressing modern day real life issues that if you're a practicing practitioner, we'll just say that, a witch, that you'll probably run across. So I like the book a lot. I would strongly suggest you add that to your library. The spells alone to me are actually worth it. They're foundational. I look at all spells as in a book as foundational because I'm going to usually add my little spin on it anyway, but I would suggest you get it. On this same vein, let's talk about Witchcraft for Daily Self-Care by Michael Herx. Nourishing Rituals and Spells for a More Balanced Life. So that's this book. Pretty cover too. These books are all recently copyrighted, like they recently came out. I'm pretty sure all of them came out this year. Witchcraft Therapy definitely came out this year. Yeah, this is 2021 also. So same deal with this one. Now, excuse me. Now this one, I like the book. The author who wrote this book. Also wrote something called, I think it's called Glamour Spells or Glamour Magic. I have to go back and look to see what he wrote. I had my eye on that book for some time on Amazon, and I just haven't purchased it yet. So after reading this, I'll probably go get that book. All right. Not a bad book. It's not. Here's the table of contents. It's not a bad book. Let me just be clear. If you want to add it, I can understand. However, Witchcraft for Daily Self-Care. I want you to think about that. When you say daily self-care, in my mind, I'm expecting to see a book that has like day 1, day 2, day 3 spells and witchy stuff to do each of those days. If you have Amazon Prime, you can read those 2 for free. Yeah, I do have Amazon Prime, and I Kindle Unlimited. That's exactly. I don't know if you can see him. I have all of this, including the 3rd book, which I'm going to about the fairies. But let me not jump ahead. So the way the book is set up, I don't like it. It's set up in a traditional sense of introduction, part 1, various chapters, part 2, 90 days of magical self-care, goes into preparation and best practice. Yeah, Glam Witch. Oh, it's focused on Lilith-based practice. Okay. I'm interested in reading that book after this. I don't like the way the book is set up, but that doesn't mean the content, which is what I'm going to get at, is bad. So the way it's set up, yeah, Part 2 is 90 days of magical self-care, preparation and best practices, daily spells and rituals. And then it's separated out under like mind. You see this, and if you click here, you'll go to the different practices. Then there's body, spirit, environment, relationships and community, and prosperity and relationships and community, and then prosperity and success. And then finally it's a moving forward. There's some resources, references, glossary, all that sort of stuff. The contents of the book I do like. However, the way I guess it's for you to pick which one. I guess I with a book like this, I sort of wanted to be handheld and led through the process of you saying, okay, so day 1, do this spell. Now, I could always change it, and you could always suggest, the author could always say, hey, if you don't want to do day 1's self-care spell, then, use day 4 if you want instead, like swap them out. But just breaking them out into sections, and now I have to pick, I might not use it. I might not use it. I might not use it as is intended. If I wanted consecutive 90 days of magical self-care, I don't know. It's just, I don't like it broken out that way. But I guess if I was looking for ideas of what to do over those 90 days, this book would be helpful. But I kind of wanted it to lead me. I wanted it to guide me. I wanted it to give me on specific days. Because once you do that, here's the other problem when you write a book like this and you don't guide me. How am I ever going to have all the necessary spell work ahead of time to do this? That's a lot of work for me. Now, we're talking about a book about self-care. Daily self-care. So if everything doesn't require things, but there's like a anxiety bath. You're going to need culinary grade chamomile for stress relief, culinary grade mint for uplifting energy, valerian root culinary grade, Epsom salt, and a white candle. So what if I don't have all these things handy? Like if I want to, you'd have to plan. Now somebody like me, honestly, I'm a crazy planning person, so I don't mind going through, picking out all the things, inserting them in like my calendar, having a list of items that I need to buy, breaking it out. I would do something like that because I'm that crazy. That's what I'm into. But I don't think everybody else is into doing that, breaking them out and trying to figure. That's a lot. That could be a lot. I'm just saying it could be a lot. So instead, what I would suggest is that maybe I would just have put this book differently. Crystal Grid for Psychic Power. That's another one that's in here. You see mine over here. I still have mine set up. This is still working, by the way. Labradorite, 1 piece of labradorite, 3 pieces of amethyst, 3 small selenite wands, a wander, to direct it. Like, these are not bad things. Nothing's wrong with this spell and what he's talking about for you to do. I don't see anything wrong, but if you don't have these things, either you're making substitutions or you want to follow through with what it actually says. You need time to do that. So like, you'd have to really go through and plan. So that's my negative thing I say about the book. You'd have to be able to plan everything. Otherwise, none of this is going to make any sense. But that's just me. So that was my issue with this book. You're going to have to, go through it, see what you want, organize it in a certain way. If you really want to do this for like a 90-day self-care thing, you're going to have to plan. You're going to have all the materials as you go. Pick them up maybe every week. You see what the next week's batch of spells and self-care challenges are and do it. It's not bad. Like, if you already have tarot cards, that's great. He gives a higher self tarot spread. Like, this is awesome. But, you want to make sure, you have cards that maybe you have just oracle cards and you didn't get tarot cards and you'd like to use tarot instead of oracle. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. But all in all, what he's suggesting, the contents itself, Not bad. I think they are practical and can be effective spells. So let me just say that right there. Something is in my eye. Then there's this book, Modern Witchcraft Guide to Fairies. Your Complete Guide to the Magic of the Fae by Sky Alexander. Sky Alexander, I think, writes for this series, most of the series. I don't know if there's another author, but I think she is the person who writes these Modern Witchcraft Guide to. So I like her writing style, so that helps. This book was, first of all, I like her writing style, and I have a lot of her other books from this type of series that she does, and I really, really like them all, including this one. Listen to the dedication. To all the witches, wizards, magicians, shamans, sorcerers, wise men and women who walk between the worlds, who understand the here and the hereafter, who knows that the manifest world is only the tip of the iceberg, and who are devoted to bringing the wisdom of the ages into our present day world. That's a beautiful dedication. I like that. Just, that's what you open up to. So what can I say? If you had no idea on understanding the Fae and you wanted to, I suggest you get this book. She breaks it down. There's two parts. Part one is communing with fairies. Part two, spells, rituals, and practices for working with the fairies throughout the year. Now, I am somebody who practices magic by the will of the year, so obviously this resonated with me. This also resonated with me because I am a cottage witch, so she talks about green magic, kitchen magic, things like that. Definitely, I like it. I'm going to just say that because it's like, okay, but why wouldn't I? When talking about like the Fae, talking about just any of those sort of creatures and things like that, a lot of that is part of, or can be part of, cottage witchery. It just depends on how you're practicing it and what you're open to. So she breaks down each section. I'm trying to get to something I think that is going to be really relevant, that I found that was super relevant. But she breaks down like love, relationships, romance, and all that sort of stuff, which is, awesome if you're looking for that type of work. Like create a love talisman. Working with fairies for prosperity. Now, a lot of people will probably want this one, right? This is probably going to be a popular section. That's chapter 7. And prosperity and abundance, by the way. The rest of the title was on the other page. She talks about the law of attraction. And she talks about what's best, who's best for working with what. So for finding wealth, which fairies can help you attract wealth and other forms of abundance. So she's going to tell you leprechauns, makes sense, right? Elves, pixies, and marrows. I don't want to say never. I don't remember ever hearing about marrows. And this is how she spells it, Merrows, marrows. Legends say that the water fairies, by the way, legends say these water fairies possess great wealth, having salvaged the treasure from sunken ships. Well, that makes sense. Tales of human men marrying marrows. Are these mermaids? Maybe I skipped that part. Maybe I didn't understand. And enriching themselves in the process abound in folklore. But you don't need to marry a marrow to gain her money. You can work with her in a cooperative venture or other type of partnership to mutual advantage. So she talks about it, but then she actually gives you some spells to use. So there's a potion to enhance prosperity consciousness. I like this. So before you can attract prosperity, you have to believe you deserve it. That is so real. Our negative ideas about money hampering your ability to receive the abundance you desire. This magic potion helps dispel self-limiting ideas and boost your sense of self-worth. Ask a marrow to join you in preparing the potion. Note, the spell takes 7 days to complete. So, I think this is pretty cool. So it's like, so you need some crystals, a green agate, aventurine, garnet, jade, peridot, tiger's eye, turquoise, glass bottle or jar with a lid, some spring water, 2 gold-colored candles and candle holders, peppermint essential oil, matches or lighter, a chalice or glass. Sounds a little, you can make this happen. These things are not incredibly difficult to find. I have some ideas on if you don't have a specific color. Let's say you can't for the life of you find a gold candle. You might want to paint one. You might want to paint it gold. Look into, obviously, safety is concerned. Make sure you're using materials that make sense, but maybe paint it. Get some gold glitter and wrap the candle. Use something that's safe, again, that will burn. So maybe not glue, maybe you can use something else sticky, something like, I don't know, honey or something like that, right? And you can wrap it and roll it in the gold, like, material and things like that. What am I saying? Sparkles. You know what I mean? Glitter. Yeah, roll it in glitter. And you'll have a gold candle. So don't, trip about stuff like that. And if you don't have candle holders, if you're struggling, aluminum foil. You can shape aluminum foil into anything. You can shape it into a candle holder. And that way, by the way, that makes cleanup even easier. So she talks about, the steps. So I'm just wanted to tell you like the type of stuff that she has in here. So you do all the other stuff, and I would read, like, I didn't read every spell through and through, but I was curious to know, well, where does the fairies come into play? So I skimmed this. I'm going to do that right now. So she tells you all this stuff to do, and then like step 13, because there's like 14 steps, give one or more of the gemstones to the marrow to thank her for helping you. So there you go. I use crayon wax to alter my white candles. Exactly. If you don't have a specific color, like gold might be hard to find depending on where you are and what you have access to in a time of year. Because if it's like Christmas or Thanksgiving time, like around that time, people want gold candles for display and things like that for their centerpieces. So you might not be able to find it. So, be crafty on some different options. But most of the spells kind of work like what I just said. It's kind of like at the end, you give an offering or something to this fairy, so that they help you. That's pretty much it. You said, I burn so Antoinette says, I burn candles in these foil food containers to catch all the mess. Exactly. Lately, I've been getting into the habit of just putting some aluminum foil down on my craft space. Well, this is going to be it now over here. So that I don't make too much of a mess. Because even though, these are not fancy desk tables, they're from IKEA, I'd still like to keep them. And when I'm not using the space, I don't want it to look, too crazy because it's in my main living area. So, I'm trying to preserve some stuff here, my furniture a little bit. But yeah, she... that's how a lot of the spells is. Usually at the end, you leave an offering or something like that to a fairy. There's not a lot where it's like you're having, she doesn't go, at least that I noticed when I was going through the spells, where it's like a thing where you're like, step 1, find the fairy, or I don't know, like you're working with them from the beginning. Usually you're doing a spell, and then after you have everything set up, you all make an offering, like, hey, can you help me please, that sort of thing. I like this one, cauldron spell to speed prosperity. That's a good one. So you need a cauldron. She says you can use a hibachi, fireplace, or fire pit, cedar wood, matches or lighter, powdered ginger, cinnamon, cayenne pepper, dry mustard, cloves, and food for the fairies. So there's a bunch of steps of all you get it, you burn some stuff. So there are 5 steps, just to go over this, to kind of give you an idea of what you can expect with this book. So it's like she tells you what to do. At no mention through steps 1 through 4 are we talking about the fairy. Last step 5, leave outside food on a rock or tree stump to thank fairies. Okay, so here's where it gets a little confusing for me. You're doing all these steps. All right, well, it's only 4 steps, so let me just tell you what they are. This is my only caveat about this one. She tells you in the cauldron, lay the cedar wood and light a fire. When the fire is well established, toss the spices into the flames one at a time. You should add at least 1 teaspoon of each spice. Allow the fire to burn completely. Let the ashes cool. Scatter them at the base of a cedar tree. So this is where we go. So then leave food outside on a rock or tree stump to thank the fairies. Where do the fairies come into play? So again, these are foundational type spells. You're going to need to make those connections. So you're going to want to write down, she's not saying this, I'm telling you this. You're going to need to write down some sort of petition. I would say write down a petition of sorts. If you want to draw something, imagery, if you just have pictures, however you want to go about it, you're going to need to make some extra steps with this type of spell. As someone who is a practitioner and has been doing this for more than a decade, I'm going to tell you, this is nice, but you're going to need to build on this. This is just the bare bones of the spell. For this to work, you're going to have to petition these fairies. Like, you got to entice them, you got to connect with them. So maybe this is after you've already made that connection, that you would do this type of work. I don't know. You can't just open a book, flip to the page, spell to secure your money, think you're good to go. You're going to need to do a little bit more work on this, these spells. That's all I got. That's what I'm saying. Working with fairies for safety and protection. Like, I'm going to petition. I'm going to want to have a relationship built with my fairies, or the fae, so that I can get to the point where I could just work with them like that. But, you know, all in all, I still like the book. I like the spells that are in here. I think this is still worth getting. Working with fairies for health and healing. I like this section a lot. If you were curious of healing in the fae, which fairies? So it's going to be pixies, elves, marrows, and I don't know how to say this. It's bean sidas. You see that there at the bottom? Bean, bean, sidhes. I don't actually know how to pronounce that word, but that, you know, she's going into that saying those are good for, to me, I would say good for petitioning for help for healing. She doesn't use the word petitioning, but that's what I say. That's how I would use it. So after reading all of this, am I going to work with a fae? She does make it more enticing. I have not intentionally worked with the fae. Let me be very clear, intentionally, because I think unintentionally I did many years ago when we were living in North Carolina. I had some there used to be, I took it as symbolism, but I was also doing some other things. All right, let me back up. So they were in North Carolina, near the Charlotte area. They would do like this Fae Village thing where people would create, like it was in a park or something, and people would create these little Fae structures. So like a Fae door. It's a cute thing. People take their kids to it, and you get to admire their work. They give you a little map so you can check out the little Fae villages that people actually set up outside, you know, in nature. That is a very fun activity. If you have access to something like that, I strongly suggest you go, even if you're not into the fae. It's just fun, and some people are creative, and you might have like kids doing it, so it's cute with, you know, the kids made it, and some of them were a little bit more elaborate. So I remember doing that, and I was practicing as a witch at that time, so I remember doing that, and I remember kind of low-key inviting the possibility of working with a fae at the time, because I was so curious after that little family fun adventure that I think I actually did do something. Nothing negative happened. I don't have anything bad to say, but there was rabbits that used to come up to the back door. So we'd be eating dinner, and the back door was just there. They were glass doors that you open and go out in the backyard. So, you know, and the whole thing was pretty much glass, so I could see. So they would come up around the same time every day at dinner time. We didn't feed them or anything. They were just there. And yeah, they would come and hang out. And I was like, wow, okay. So that started happening where that hadn't been happening before. And we had been living in this house for a little bit of time. And it was weird that they just started making an appearance. And then there was like other nature-based things that were happening where I was like, did I make contact? And I didn't nurse that relationship. I didn't develop the relationship because of just ignorance. Who's to say? I didn't actually see anything. Everything was like in a form of like animals and things like that, and like natural events, like all nature-based events. But anyway, I don't know, I'm open to it. I didn't have a negative experience. I know some people get really weird about the Fae because if you don't nurture the relationship, it can get tricky. They can mess with you, hide your keys, hide your stuff. to small annoyances like that, to like causing serious issues. Like, let's say you work from home and they mess around and F with like your internet and your electricity and stuff like that. I'm just saying, you have to be careful. Does this book address that? She does address it a little bit. She goes into it about having a balanced relationship with the Fae. She does. And then breaking down what the Fae is and all that sort of stuff. I like the book. I'm glad I got it. I was looking forward to when this was actually finally published and released, because it was, I'm pretty sure it was on pre-order. And I just had it in my list, so I could look for it once it came up. But I like it. I just wanted a modern version that would be relevant, that I was able to digest, explaining the Fae and all that sort of stuff. That's all. I was really looking forward to reading something like that. She has a section here, chapter 11, working with fairies for personal and spiritual growth. So that's a good one. A good section. And by the way, those fairies, if you were curious for that, sylphs, these are air spirits, salamanders. If you seek inspiration, courage, or zest for life, that resonates with me. I'm a fire sign, Aries. I live in a desert. It's ridiculously sunny. And I was like, hey, salamanders make sense for me here, right? And then there's leprechauns. The bean sadas, I think I'm saying that right. And groches, grogoshes. Hold on, let me see. You see that right there? The last one, grogoshes. I'm trying to say that right. You said, I burn candle. Oh, never mind. That's the same comment. I thought it was something else that popped up. And then fairy animals. Animal spirits can lend you their innate characteristics as needed, such as speed, strength, stealth, agility, and so on. When I read that, I thought about the rabbit thing and how the rabbits were, hanging out around my house so much. And I was thinking, okay, when she says fairy animals, because what do rabbits represent? Fertility for sure, right? Some people see them as a representation of abundance, because they have a lot of rabbits. Banshee, oh my god, I'm all over the place. So Bean Sada is Banshee. Thank you, Gemstones. Okay, I don't get that. All right, that's different. Man, isn't language just written word depending on your culture, region, and all that? It blows your mind sometimes. How to pronounce things and what they mean, I'm just an American girl. Thank you, Gemstones. I appreciate that. I knew somebody would know. There's a section for Witch's Ladder, to create that. So you use yarn. She has a clear quartz bead, feathers found in the wild, not plucked from a living bird, sandalwood, incense, and matches or lighter. So those are the things you need. It's Old Irish. Thank you. And I got just a wee bit of that in somewhere in my bloodline. I was looking at my ancestry DNA results. By the way, if you didn't get one of those, just to let you know, they update. So yeah, you found out, a year ago, but guess what? It updates, and the more people take it, the more it can get a little bit more specific about what your makeup is regionally, speaking. So yeah, a little bit Irish in me. And that number grew a little bit, but that's another story. Anyway, so yeah, she's giving wonderful spells that I think are for the most part easy to work with. There's a gain wisdom from a tree spell. The things you need are a small vial of red wine and your book of shadows. So, you can do that. But yeah, so it's I like the book. I'm glad I got it. Like, I don't regret getting it. Actually, you know what? It makes me want to read a little bit more before I work with the Fae or do anything more. I believe in working with like house spirits, but I don't intentionally refer to them as the Fae. Because I don't feel like I'm educated enough and versed enough and confident enough to start that relationship just all willy-nilly. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. So anyway, so yeah, working with the fairies on Sabbaths and holidays. This is a cute section. So The ones you want to work with, which I now understand is Banshee, Pixie, excuse me, Pixies, Elves, Elemental Fairies. So, yeah, okay. Excuse me. This is good to know. And then she gives you a couple spells, like for Yule, burn a Yule fire for good fortune. Couple steps. Now, this one, halfway through, she is giving you instructions to ask the fairies to carry your hopes and dreams into the realm of magic. So that's good. Okay, so the Princess Diary says, I have a hard time taking authored spells seriously. Like, do the authors actually use the spells they publish, or do they just make up the spells for the books? I agree. Excuse me. I would only use, in my mind, I would want to only create spells that I know I have used or I will use. And I realize that's tough because, you know, to be taken seriously as a published author, people want substance. They want the content to make sense and be practical. But at the same time, you know, you want to fill up the book. You want to get the words on the pages. You want to make sure there's something there for somebody to look into. You want to give people options. So, yeah, the reality is I don't know if they use some of these some of these spells. Like, because to me, it doesn't make any sense. Also, as I was talking about from from this book, I think in the other one too, you're going to need to do more work. Like, these are just the bare bones foundation work for the magic to work, for the spell to work. Like, this is just giving you a foundation. You will need to add the part that is you, that makes this thing work. It's not just your intention, and you're just putting things together, you know. I'm just stacking things up saying, oh, this means order. No, it's a little bit more work you have to do. It's a mindset shift, yes. Intention, yes. However, it will matter. So, sort of the order that you're doing things, especially if you're working with, like, back to the Fae, back to this specific book, you're going to want to establish a connection, have some sort of relationship. And if it's your first time, rather than immediately asking for something, you want to, you know, maybe develop a relationship, start leaving offerings and things like that to attract them. And then, you know, move on from there and see how you can connect with them. Maybe you start seeing something out the corner of your eye. And, you know, at that point, how you react is going to be super important. You don't want to be all scary because they might be offended. You have to learn how to reference specific fae. So you're not offending them by calling them, you know, something you shouldn't be saying directly. Maybe you're not supposed to do that. Maybe you're supposed to just say, oh, my friend, or, you know, my helper, or, you know, whatever. It's like there's nuance to it. You have to be a little bit careful on how you approach and all that sort of stuff before you just start doing a spell and assuming this salamander knows to step in, or this leprechaun knows that you need this money. Maybe you want to first attract a leprechaun into your space, into this plane that you're on, before you do some of this stuff. Now, she does talk about that in part 1, so I don't want to make it seem like, you know, this book is not going into that. She is, but I think that she should go a little bit more into that when you're talking about the spells. Or maybe it's supposed to be implied. I don't know. But part 1 is the meat of you trying to understand the rest of spells. But part 1, if you're trying to understand more about the Fae, fairies, and all that, she does a good job of explaining it in a way that makes sense so you can understand it. She's not using a lot of terms and words that, except for the Banshee, for me, I didn't know that one. But she doesn't use a lot of other words that would confuse you. There's even a section on where to meet fairies. So she does talk about this sort of stuff. I don't want to, you know, confuse it. But she says woodlands, lakes, and other places in nature. So if you don't live near a place like that, you would wonder, well, where would I meet it? That's why I said salamanders for me, because I'm in a desert. You know, I'm not going to find certain fairies, you know, in my mind. Why would they be in this area unless they got stuck here? And they're probably not going to be that nice to me. Musical events, by the way, is another place to find fairies. Liminal zones, so like liminal zones, like magical spots, ley lines, dawn and dusk, like that space in between, transient times. Those are times where you can find the fae also. Um, but there's a whole section where she's just talking about this. Let me see what you have here. Yes, you said yes. I didn't ask Aphrodite for shit for a long time until after I kicked it with her regularly, ritually. You have to build a relationship over time. Oh my gosh, yes, you do. Like, and maybe it's somewhere and I skipped it, or I just, glazed over it and I didn't really pay much attention. But with this type of work, when you're writing books like this, you have to keep in mind that for somebody who is completely new to the subject matter, you kind of need to keep reminding them, or somewhere in the spell on, relationships. You have to build those with any type of things, working with goddesses, working with the fae, working with spirits, and to be honest, even ancestral type work. You want to not always have your hand out, gimme, 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 gimme. That's why offerings are necessary. And offerings are not something you only give when you're wanting something. Those in between times, everyday life, you still give an offering. You still give water. An offering, by the way I practice, is not always a tangible item. Sometimes thought. What do we know about, speaking on ancestors specifically, they don't want to be forgotten. They don't want to be like they didn't exist. By nature, most humans are that way. We don't want to leave and we never existed. You want someone to remember you. So remembering people. Now, how does that work for ancestors you didn't personally know? They are way before you. Just the concept of you giving ancestor reverence, knowing that these souls, these spirits existed. You don't have to know specifically who, where, what, and what time they existed. Just knowing they're part of a collective energy, and you taking the time out of your daily life to just kind of sit with that thought and remember them and attempt to connect with them in any way, even if it's just all happening up here, even if it's just an emotion thing, that's technically a type of offering as well. I think about it myself, like when I move on, I want my children to thrive, hopefully grandchildren. I want them to thrive. I want them to do well. And I want them to remember me always, I want my grandkids to remember me, and then their kids and so forth. So, I hope I make a big enough impact that they do, but them just remembering something funny I said, or that time I got really, pissed. I don't care what the scenario is, but them just thinking like that randomly. Once I pass on, I would imagine, that's like a trigger, and it kind of activates me and keeps me energetically connected with my people, the living ones, that is. Because otherwise, if we're not connecting with them at all, it's not that they don't exist, but I do wonder if it sort of weakens them, energetically speaking, if collectively us humans, the living, are not having those connections. It's kind of like with the gods. I know somebody was like, oh, well, the gods are dead, if you don't worship them. Like, that's, if you don't worship them, if they don't have believers, they die out. Not die, because like I said before, I don't think anything ever really goes away, dies, but I think they are not as strong, they become more weakened. If you watch American Gods, like season 1, you probably, or I haven't read the books yet, but if you watch this show, that show kind of made me think about that a little bit too. What happens when people just stop believing in these specific gods? Well, they don't die, but they're weakened, so their power and influence isn't going to be what it was when they had thousands or millions of believers. Which ties into when people talk about Oshun and things like that. And remember years ago, Beyonce did Lemonade, that album, and visual album, and she's holding the baseball bat, if you remember that video. She's got the pretty yellow dress on, and people were saying in the water, rushing out the building, all these were like symbolic gestures and things like that related to Oshun. So during that time and afterwards, I know a lot of people who are in the spirit, we'll say spiritual community, they had negative things to say that, oh, people were just jumping on this, the Oshun trend track or whatever, because, Beyonce made it popular. But here's the thing. Let's say Beyonce did make it more popular to people who didn't know. That's a good thing for Oshun. That's a good thing for her daughters, for her or those who follow her, because to me it gives her more strength, makes her influence even more stronger. So I don't care why they're there and the purpose of what I don't care. I'm just happy that they're all believing, and even if it's kind of surface level, the point is that they've opened themselves up to it, and to me that's sending out energy to her. And if you're working with her and you were kind of timid about it, she's become more powerful because of the interest and the new followers. Same thing like with Greek mythology and things like that, like all the gods and things like that. The more people look into that, as time goes on and people are using these, that's a positive thing. It just, I don't know, that's how I see it. But I'm always trying to put a positive spin on stuff. That's just me. But overall, all the books that I got, all of them, Witchcraft Therapy was my favorite. As much as I was curious, and I was really waiting for the fairies book. I'd been waiting since I first found out. It's been a while that they talked about it. But I really, really like Witchcraft Therapy. Those spells that she lists were practical. I believe I'll have access to pretty much everything that she suggested. And it was relevant to specific situations, modern day situations. So I definitely would suggest getting this one if you get nothing else. The Daily Self-Care one, good book. Don't really have a lot of negative things to say about it. Don't have anything overly positive to say about it. I already explained that I don't like the way the book is designed. So unless you are approaching this where you're going to be looking in the mind section, the body section, the prosperity section, and you're going to cherry pick, and then you're going to list out the ingredient, all the things you'll need for the spells or rituals or whatever you're going to do. And make sure you have that ready to go, because you want to do this over a 90-day period. So you want to do the first week, second week, like there's some planning involved. If you're not willing to commit to that, then I don't know if that's going to work out for you. The Modern Witchcraft Guide to Fairies, your complete guide to the magic of the Fae. If you are interested in this subject, this is a current book that is available to you for that purpose. I would say get it, because part 1, she talks very practical about it, interacting with fairies, who they are, what they are, where they are, all that sort of stuff. I think for that purpose, you're going to want to get the book. Just to understand. Sometimes I get books. It's not so much that I love everything that was in the book, but if I'm trying to understand a topic, I need a starting point. I need a reference. That could be your reference. I'm just getting this book. Again, it's current, written modern time, so it's going to use language that we'll understand in 2021. And use, spells and examples that are going to relate to what we would have access to right now. So, yeah, for that purpose, if you want a better understanding, I would say get the book. If you already are familiar with fairy magic and working with the Fae, and you feel pretty solid on that, I don't necessarily know if you need this book. You might maybe want some ideas for spells. Like we were just talking about the Princess Diaries, like some of the spells, like has someone used these spells in this book? Like seriously put it to the test and used it, because going through the steps, I don't see where the magic is. It's just, it's basically getting some items, doing some steps. I didn't see where the magic comes. You got to bring you have to bring the magic, and reading the spells, you kind of have to know that. And again, people who are new to this, they don't know. So I feel bad, because I think there are going to be people who try to do spells and they don't work. And they're like, why? I followed it to the letter. What happened? there's some other steps you have to do. I have a couple videos from actually this year where I talk about the anatomy of a spell and what that means, because there's the stuff beforehand, there's the prep, there's getting yourself energetically aligned, grounded, energetically aligned, and then the techniques, everything from breathing exercises, from chanting to movement of sorts, dancing, having music, so environmental stuff going on, cleansing your space. So there's other bits and pieces, actually quite a few things that you have to do to have successful spells, other than just following, step 1 through 5 and getting all the right items that they list. There's other things that have to go into it. And then there's your signature, your witchy signature. You performing it is putting your signature on it. But some of us like to take things a step forward. For instance, when you're sealing something or anointing a candle, you might lick your thumb and maybe line it. You don't keep doing it because you'll get the oils and the stuff from the candle in your mouth. So don't do that. Do it once. Maybe on the wick, you just gently wet it. You're putting your physical, actual DNA energy on it, as well as spiritually as well. So things like that. But they don't talk about that sort of stuff. But that's why I think it's so important to build, as we were saying, build relationships, especially with fairies or anybody for that matter, any spirits. But because you're linking up with them energetically, you're linking up with them, and you want to make sure you're working with the right entities, the right people, spirits or whatever, when you're doing things like that, because we know there can be negative consequences, or it could just be ineffective because you didn't really work with them. You just followed some steps in a book. So those books in order. I like the witchcraft therapy book is definitely kind of my favorite new thing. I'll be referring to this often. The Modern Witchcraft Guide to Fairies, just because I wanted the information. And then Witchcraft for Daily Self-Care, the contents itself wasn't bad, but you're going on a hunting expedition trying to organize this in a way so that you can actually put these things into practice. Making sure you have all the ingredients, like I said, all the items, blah, blah, blah. You're going to need all that. And I should have really charged this stuff because I'm down to 1% that fast. That's why I want to get another one of these. And I should have got one at Prime, and I didn't. And I'm kicking myself because they had it marked down. This is old. This is from 4 or 5 years ago that I got this. It still works. Like I said, it's slow. Does anybody else have a Kindle Fire? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I only use it when I don't even use it all the time. And I use it really just for reading, maybe play a couple games. I did download an app a long time ago. It was a tarot app. So that's on here, but I rarely ever use it. I use my actual cards. So bam, that's my review. That's pretty much it. I am about to get into some other serious crafty exercises. Let me just give you a sneak peek. I'm actually in the middle of filming this video. So you see this little cube? This was started off as a piece of wood. I did actually a Witchy review talking about these little wooden cubes I got from the Dollar Tree. So I painted them black. So I have several here, and I'm putting my own witches rune. They're going to be runes for me, basically. So I'm going to create and put little symbols. So that video is going to be coming in the next week. So look for that. I think I'm posting that one on Wednesday. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So look for that one on Wednesday. And that's when I do videos like this. They have to be cut up because I gotta let the paint dry, and then I'll put the symbols on. I made an attempt, I won't show you, but I show you in the video of my own symbols, and they look so wonky. So I decided to go about it using some other technology, so that I'll actually be able to understand what the heck that I draw or write or actually paint, because I have my little paint brushes out. So this thing makes sense to me. You said exciting. Yeah, it is. I'm really looking forward to it. I really wanted to use them. I mean, this is not just one of those things I use and I put it away in a drawer. No, I'm going to really use these. That's why it's important which symbols, what do I want to use. I am, relying a bit on Pinterest for some ideas, because why would I not? I don't know anybody who practices magic and who at any point does actually crafting at all, does not use Pinterest. Like, Pinterest is the ultimate place for that. So the Princess Diary says, I have those wooden blocks too with the same craft intent. Okay, yeah. Well, I decided to do that. Now, I did, and I'll go into the video. There's one that's a different color, and I go into that in the video that I'm creating for this. But yeah, of course we're in sync. Of course we are. Yes. So that's definitely a cool craft. And I love lately anything that gets me using these little acrylic paints. I love any sort of craft that lets me do that. So that's been pretty cool. I went and I also, that is my doorbell. I am not expecting anyone, so this is going to be strange. When you do, can you go outside and talk to them? Whoever it is. I got, it's not almost like a panicky feeling. It might be a package then. Oh, the mystery. That is the door. Let me see. Is it a package? Yes, it's Amazon. Because Amazon comes here often. Anyway, so I picked these up from Michael's when I was out. So this is I'm going to do some coloring book stuff. I showed that here. And I realized I didn't have any, I needed more colored pencils for sure. And here are the colors that are on here, by the way. And by the way, they've come a long way. They got metallics. They have color pencils that turn into watercolor. So you can really get funky and artsy with the color pencils. But these crayons, I had been seeing these for a long time. Colors of the World. And I love the names on them. On this side, let me turn it around. Here are some of the names on them. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of hard to zoom in. But it's medium almond, and it goes down to extra light almond to deepest almond to medium golden. So anyway, these are the crayons. So this will help me with the coloring book I did talking about natural curly hair. I wanted to get something for that so I can color some of the girls with pretty, skin and hair, and so that's why I got this. Because that's a fun activity to do. Art magic, yes. And as I do it, my own hair, I'm on my own little hair journey with these are little micro locks that I have. So I'm growing mine in. And by the way, I have one of those earrings that I did the review for, my witchy earrings. And yes, I do feel protected when I wear them. But yeah. Those crayons are perfect for Modern Witch coloring book. I got to get some. Yeah, look, right? Get these Michaels. These are cool. And they have, if you get the Michaels app, or if you just go to the website when you're in the store and pull up on your phone, they have a little barcode. You can get 20% off right now. Michaels used to do 40% off coupons almost all the time, but ever since the panorama, they stopped, and now it's 20%, 30%. So, they're getting real funny and stingy. And Hobby Lobby isn't even doing coupons anymore, which is, I gasped the last time I went, because I pulled up my app, because I'm one of those people. I'm always in those stores. So I'm pulled up the app, and I'm like, where's the coupons? And it was oh yeah, we don't do coupons. And this woman, another customer, comes up to me when I'm walking out the store, was yeah, they don't do that anymore. I found that out. And she's talking to me, and crafts bring the world together. So we had a nice conversation after that. I was talking about basically how, the panorama destroyed, I don't know, a lot of stuff besides lives. Obviously, I'm not laughing about that, but no, in other ways, it's changed the way people do business. Now they don't have coupons at all. This all started after 2020. I don't know what the cost calculation is and why the coupons had to go away, but clearly it was a problem. And you said Okay, so the Princess Diary says Five Below raised shipping to $8. Used to be $5. Exactly. Like, this is just getting ridiculous. The whole lumber thing, the price of lumber went up. So it actually came down some. It's still ridiculously high, still like 3 times what it was before all this started, but it did actually come down. But you're not going to see that cost being passed on. There's still, people are still treating it like, it's, I don't know, gold or something. I know some people who, they have a new fence. They want, my friend wants to get a new fence put in her backyard. And everything is crazy expensive. And on top of that, you have like ridiculous time constraints and all that sort of stuff, because it's just, I don't know, it costs more. And if I, correct me if I'm wrong, because I heard someone else say this, I don't know 100%, but I was told, from what I heard from this other person, because of things happening in the rainforest, so it ties back to nature, which is why there was a shortage of wood, lumber and things like that. So, we have to be careful about resources on this planet, but we all know that as witches. We just need everybody else, the muggles, to catch up. I'll just say that about that. All right. So yeah, that's, this little thing that I have sitting. This is my Cricut, which I love. This is actually from Cricut, and I got this. It's kind of heavy. Let me just show you this. This wasn't really part of the Witchy review, but I'm making it now. So this is a mug press, and basically what it does is it infuses the ink. So there's special paper you get onto a mug. So I'm testing some things out, and then I will give you guys some information down the road about that. But I'm testing some things out. I got this. I haven't even hooked it up yet. This is part of some of my activities and crafts that I'm doing today. You see this board back here, that's a whole other thing that I'm doing. And, I still got these I'm over here working on. So it's been a very fun, crafty day for me. But anyway, I'm working on this, and this is going to be some fun crafts that I do that I will hopefully be able to share with some of you if you're interested down the road, but soon. Anyway, so that's that. But this is a new purchase, a new part of my craft world, and I'm very excited about this. Love to see your review of the Cricut. Okay, yeah, I love my Cricut. The short answer is get it if you want one. I have the Cricut Maker. I don't have the most recent one. They just came out with one, I think earlier this month or late last month. They just came out with the newer one where it does it. If you know anything about Cricuts, you have to have these pads to put whatever material you're using, paper, vinyl, whatever you're using. You have to put it on these pads, feed it through the machine so it can cut them. The new Cricut Maker and Explorer, I think it is, doesn't require the pads. They make materials that don't require having to put it on these pads. You can just feed it directly into the machine. But you have to buy special material that goes with the new Cricut. I do not have that one, and that's okay. This is still very new to me, and I still have much to learn about this. I have gotten into vinyls now. I already, work with stickers. I've already been actually selling stickers custom. I've been getting more into graphic design. I use Adobe Illustrator. I had no experience with any of this stuff, by the way, up until about a couple months ago. Thank you. So Princess Diary says, so happy to see you getting crafty. Get it, girl. Thank you. I'm trying. I'm really trying. No, but again, talking about curating your magical life. I made a decision years ago. I wanted to live a creative life, a life of creativity. And what creativity means, it could be anything from my hair, the clothes I wear, the type of makeup I wear. So it's just that, to my nails, to even like the different color watch bands I use, however I want to do it, to actually creating something, and using something called a weeder, which I just figured out what it was when I got this Cricut, and I never understood any of this sort of stuff. Like, I just use the term sublimation If you have no idea what I'm talking about because all this is foreign to you, that is how I felt. I was like, what is sublimation? So I asked my science-minded daughter what that is. She's like, oh, well, when I think of that, I think about a chemical process. And she goes down this rabbit hole of science talk. And I was like, I don't think we're talking about the same thing. I found out it means something totally different. Where do you sell stickers? Do you have a website? It's coming. It's coming. Right now, what I'm doing is freelance work for a business owner, and I'm actually helping her with her designs. I help with one of her designs, and she sells actual items like popsicles, and she sold like cookies. So the labels with her logos on them, I printed those out with my Cricut. I use different materials that, she had like freeze pops, so I had to make sure I ordered specialty waterproof labels with a high gloss and clear, that sort of stuff. So I did that for her, but it is coming because I'm actively working on planner labels, because why wouldn't I want to create my own. It is coming. I not the best draw person. I don't know really how to draw, so it's like learning all these tools. Like I've invested in Adobe Illustrator. That's not cheap, by the way. And it takes a lot of knowledge and trying to understand just Cricut design space. By the way, when you buy these types of machines and all this stuff, there is no like this is the guide. Let me show you. This is the guide to the Cricut press, mug press. This is all you get. That's it. There's no other pages. This is it. And then there's warranty information, and it's like open me. I think this is what this came in. This is all that came with it. There's no other instructions. You watch YouTube videos. You go into Cricut design space. They have things to look at there. There's no one central place like step by step to learn. So you kind of just immerse yourself. So along with this, I am still learning, but I'm at the part, I've been learning all this time, but I'm at the part now where I'm ready to put things into apply what I've been learning. So that is coming soon. I've been kind of teasing a little bit of different things that I'm doing. But yeah, so the labels, I got some design ideas that I'm playing with. My daughter is a little bit more gifted with drawing, and she has one of those cool pads where if you draw on it, it'll send it to the computer. I know some people have that with iPads and things like that. I have a little, what do you call this? A tablet. It's kind of old. I do have this, but, and I tried drawing, but it didn't work with my little pen that I thought I was supposed to have. So anyway, it's something I'm working on. Not this one, it's someplace else, but I have like a pen that goes with this. I inherited this. This is not like new or anything. But yes, I will be selling stickers soon. And I will have a website. It'll be Etsy that I'll be selling them on. Spoiler. Pretty soon. I'm getting everything together now from a little Etsy store. So I'm really excited about that. My little sigil that I created. Income comes to me. That's what this is, my homemade sigil that I created. So I keep this. It's right here on my desk. So I'm constantly looking at it. And this one too. I kind of messed up on my why, but that's okay. But it was just for me, my personal use to look at. And, these affirmations get me through the day and kind of keep me inspired and keep me crafty and all that sort of stuff. One, for the sake of doing it. I really just like creating things. People call, they say, what's that term? You're a maker. Yeah, I like that. I'm a maker. I make things. I like that. Yeah, so I think I'm pretty much done. I have got to do a lot of crafts. And I don't say that like in a bad way, like in a fun way. Like I gotta get this going. I'm gonna be using Cricut, spoiler, to cut out the symbols, and I'm gonna affix them to this. So I'm gonna be using my technology in my craft. So that's gonna be fun. And then I got some planner stuff and some other witchy stuff that I'm gonna share with you guys, and I'm filming it all today. And of course, just so watch my channel, watch those videos that come up. Remember to like, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff too, because that's definitely helping my channel, which is the little engine that could, and it's going, it's chewing along. So I'm really happy. about that too. All right, so hopefully everybody has a really cool Saturday, and you have fun. I know next Saturday is a holiday weekend. I'll be live still with some other cool stuff to review and to talk about. But be sure to check out during the week. Again, I post videos on Monday and on Wednesday. I used to go live on Friday, but now I'm Saturday. So if you're catching this on a replay, Saturdays at 11 Pacific time is when you'll catch me on live. Yeah. So that's when you'll find me. All right, so thank you everybody for coming here and for watching. Oh, Bougie, I'm just gonna use tiny stickers on my blocks. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, come on, I gotta use it. I got it, and then I got my little fancy tools to pick at to get the little vinyl stickers up. So how could I not? How could I not use all this wonderful, cool stuff that I have? So again, thanks again for watching. I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. Again, please like, subscribe, share. It helps. And again, just thanks again for watching. I really appreciate you all for coming here. And yeah, if you guys have ideas and things that you've seen and you're curious to know about me reviewing, let me know in the comments too. Thank you. You have a great weekend as well. Let me know in the comments if there was something you're kind of curious about. You know, I might review it. I might check it out. So just let me know. All right. I'm going to go back to crafting. Bye.